Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Northeast RC Racer Podcast. This is Tom. George is with us, but not feeling the best today, but he's going to hang out with us. But I said I'd do the intro for him. We are on episode 27. I know George always puts fingers up the dog, but episode 27. So I can't believe it. We're 2 years in. How's everybody doing?
Good, man. Yeah, I actually, when I was setting up this template for this call, I just typed in 23. I'm like, shit, 27? Wow, almost at 30. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. It's almost like my age. I'm almost 30.
Yeah.
Yep.
Again.
All right, so you guys just heard from Toby. Also, Vin's in the house. How you doing, Vin?
Good. Hanging in there. Yep.
Yeah.
Excited for tonight's podcast. We got some really good guests in store for everyone, so should be a good night.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
And George, hopefully you're hanging in there, buddy.
Tom, I'd like to say you did a fantastic intro.
Well, the bar was set pretty low, so it's easy to clear.
That's what I've been told, my friend. That's what I've been told.
Awesome.
Well, before we get in a little further in today's episode, I want to take a moment. Last episode 26, I want to give a thank you to Alan Placer. Alan joined us, gave us some really good insights of his history and the hobby, his perspective from what the hobby shop sees. Right,
Yep.
I think there's something to that. We got to keep the hobby shops going. Without the hobby shops, we have a hard time getting the new racers out there. Toby, I'll give kudos to you. I remember during COVID, like every other day, you were getting a brand new kit from one of the local hobby shops.
That's right. Just trying to keep it afloat,
You had all those shelves back there. You had to fill them up.
I know.
But hey, look, you seriously even did during Christmas time. I saw you go out and kind of travel all the different shops and point them out. So that's really good stuff. And listen, anybody listening right now, support your local hobby shop. At the end of the day, you can buy stuff online, but pricing is pretty much the same. Or if there's going to charge a tax, yeah, shipping's free, but you can go pick it up locally. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can smell it. So it's kind of cool to support our local shops. We got some great ones in this area. So, let's keep that going if we can.
Yeah, actually, just to chime in there, Trains and Lanes, go see Brian. If anyone's looking for a 10 scale, he is blowing out all his 10 scales because it's kind of, for us in the Northeast, end of 10 scale season. So, if anyone's still looking for a 10 scale and you want a deal on it and you want to support your local hobby shop so he can afford to buy all the AE parts inventory I'm about to throw his way on Tuesday. So, help him out and help out those local shops. That's awesome.
Good deal. Well, before we get going too far down the line, I want to talk a little bit about Motorama, but Toby, awesome at the Roar Nationals, man. Happy to see 46 RC had an opportunity to get in there and show what you guys can do on a very, very short notice. I mean, I love the coverage from Motorama. It was great, but what you did there was stupendous as well.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. It was pretty wild. It takes a lot of time for me personally to get ready for an event, and prior to Motorama, I'd spent weeks just changing my whole setup, because I want to make improvements from last year. And I was doing that carpet race series for Sean Duffy, so it gave me a chance to try things out. So when I went into Motorama, I was pretty confident everything was going to work, and it did. Other than a couple of microphone faux pas, like interviewing people without microphones turned on, or doing a track walk with no mics. It went pretty well. So my phone here.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I done a video the other day. I did a Facebook Live and I was at the rhythm track as we're getting I just got the pipe laid. I was all excited. And George always tells me it gets real when the pipe goes down. So I was really excited to show it to everybody. I was wearing headphones as I was laying the pipe all day. I know you guys are going to laugh at that one. But anyway, I was listening to headphones the whole time I was out there doing it. I said, let me do a Facebook Live. I had taken the headphones out and I stuck them on the table by the race director stand. I go out there and I start talking about the track. I do a whole track walk, sort of like what happened at Motorama. And the whole time my headphones were in the it was also my microphone was in the race director stand. So
that feels so bad then.
Yeah. Misery loves company, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. But then, on road nats really just, I felt confident in everything I had ready to go, and I'd already done a live race the weekend before out of the Richfield. So it was just, just all worked out, I had to do like a 9 p.m. trip to the Guitar Center down in South Jersey to get a couple of the wires that I think I was going to need, and then just piece it all together. So it's awesome.
Yeah, it really was awesome. And the show went on without a hitch. it was pretty good how you were able to step right in there. And I know the guys in Roar were really appreciative that you were able to step in there and kind of save the day after whatever happened. Yeah, that was great. Hopefully we could get you back there doing some more of them.
Yeah, be cool.
46 RC stock is rising.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Where do I invest? I'm in.
Good stuff. Yeah, exactly.
I don't have I have an AE shirt on the night, but I have my 46 RC sweatshirt upstairs. I'm ready.
Awesome.
I knew Toby when he was just starting out in this. Travel international,
tiny guy,
cover races.
That's right.
Awesome. Listen, you put your head down, you do great quality work, and people recognize that and they see it. And what you do and how you've been improving your game, just at Motorama alone, the multi-camera angles, bringing in your son to increase the production capability. It's noticeable. I don't think anybody who watches your recordings doesn't walk away with it feeling like it's some of the best stuff out there.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and it's kind of one of those things that it's tough to make it a profitable gig. So I mean, it's not like Toby's. This is all passion right here, basically.
Yeah.
Most things in RC are a labor of love.
Yeah, breaking even is about all you can invest for, right?
Right, exactly.
Your wife's like, you're going away and you're taking Lucas? Score.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah.
My wife's here to say, why don't you start a production company? Maybe help Toby out. Get out of the house. Wait, since we're kind of talking about coverage and else, why don't you talk a little bit about Motorama? How was things there? Coverage was great. I missed the out the show. I'll tell you, I was disappointed. I didn't go this year. I was expecting my first grandchild, so I wanted to be home and be around. Could have made the race, but hindsight's 2020. But I tell you what, I watched a ton of coverage, and it was really good. So, but you were there. Talk to us a little bit. How was it?
Yeah, I mean, it was another great event. I mean, it's I think it's growing. Every year. We didn't have pretty much the same pro level drivers we had last year. I think we had Lead Setzer was an extra pro level guy. So, but definitely brings the exposure up. A lot of people, pretty decent online presence when people were, once we got to those A1, A2, A3 pro races, then pretty decent exposure to people watching that. So, but yeah, it was a great event. It's a Scotty event. It just normally goes like clockwork. So track was a lot of fun layout. Those guys did a good job as usual. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, layout looked fun, looked technical, but
yeah, it's funny. Some people were like, "Oh, it looks really boring," but it was actually a lot more fun to drive than it looked, and it was good for all levels of drivers, which is key to designing a good track. It's what Kevin spends so much time doing, is making a track that's drivable for everybody. I think that's important.
It looked like a lot of fun. That step down in the back looked cool. I thought those 5 rollers in the front were going to be.
Those are awesome.
But they were, that was a challenging section. A lot of guys, had a hard time to hit it right, and I'm sure a lot of it had to, get the car set up and the shock set up right to make that work.
Every average guy below, or fast average guy, whatever you want to call it, non-pro, they'd come in there, hit it with rhythm and move pretty fast, right? But when the pros did it, or you saw Greg do it, oh my God, man. Like they literally just skimmed off almost.
Yeah, they just moguls, right? Just right through it.
Just right over the top of them. Like the suspension didn't even have time. It was like bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
But that was a really cool section.
Absolutely. Vin, you got a chance to go out a little bit, right? And kind of hang out with some of the associated guys and check things out.
Yep. I was there in the beginning. Got everybody going and everything. And then we actually had some snow on the way. So I had to leave a little early and get to snow plowing, but thankfully that's over. Back to RC.
Oh, there's the jinx. Good job, buddy. You're starting to get warm weather. Here it comes. Man, my daffodils are up in the yard every year. My daffodils go by. I swear, I get a picture every year with snow on top of my daffodils. It never seems to fail. But.
Yeah.
I do have to say though, nobody sleeps harder than Vinny.
Yeah. Yeah, we all got up and walked around him, and
and he would have been sleeping on the couch as the movers moving couches and TVs around them,
snoring away, all cozy, and my little sofa there.
A few tequilas before bedtime can help you sleep well.
Right.
Yeah, works.
Good times though.
So, Tom, you want to just touch on results real quick?
Absolutely, if you have them, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I won't talk about the A's, but the expert classes, because we all know kind of where the finishes are. It's more interesting to talk about regional guys. Four-wheel drive short course, which is a class I actually drove for shits and giggles. But Dave Harvey was pretty unbeatable. I don't know if I don't know if you saw some of the racing. His truck was on fire, and it wasn't even his truck. It was a renter ride. So he wheeled that thing. Steve Geist and BB, top three. Steve Geist, if you don't know, he's a guy who builds a track. So he, considering I don't think he races really in the year. You know, it comes to Motorama, they build that track in 24 hours, and then he races and always podiums. So it's pretty cool. Marco was up there in the top 5 as well, regional trains and lanes guy. Let's talk on the intermediate classes. So we got intermediate buggy, Robert Mayer Jr., Pat Mack. Pat drove amazingly all weekend. There was actually one specific point when I can't remember exactly, but he got into the guy in front of him, and they were just like about to, it was like the last lap, and Pat let him go and win the race. And it was just, it was really cool thing to see happen. And, Scotty was like, wow, so that was cool. Seeing Pat. Bradley Lingerman, third in actually intermediate buggy results, just top 3. And then we'll go to Truggy and the old guy race. So Truggy, Landon Weldon, Robert Mayer Jr. again, and Bradley Lingerman. So 2 guys there, podiuming on both the intermediate classes. And then the gentleman's class, the senior men's class, Jeff Switzer, Chicarello, and Aaron Buran. So that's your top 3. So that's your intermediates and your short course and your masters.
George, I don't want to bring up bad memories, but you have any feedback you want to share from Motorama? I know you were there. You look good.
Motorama was awesome this year. I was freaking out. My original results weren't too good, and then I kind of pulled things together in the last round, and was lucky enough to be high up in the B. And so I think it was my 40-plus class. I started 9th, moved up to like middle of the pack. And then some guy was in front of me. He bounced off the pipe coming down the drop down in the back. When he bounced off the pipe, he came flying in the middle of the lane as I was coming around the turn. Car broke. End of story. Then here's the great part of the story. So we had 5 minutes because I had the race marshal race. So Alan and I run back to the pits, and he's giving me a hand repair my car. So if anybody knows, to pull a front or a rear arm off your car, front's a little harder, rear's a little easier. But either way, to get the chassis screws out, get all the pins out, get the axle out, put everything back together, get it on in less than 5 minutes, because basically the clock was already starting the minute I got off the driver's stand. So we actually get it all together. But as I'm putting pieces together, Alan had put his Techno back together, or a battery in it, just in case we didn't make the cutoff in time. So as I'm about to put the wheel on, Alan's putting the battery packs in for me, and he's not used to the split packs that are in the Kyosho or like the AE and stuff. And we were just moving too fast, and the streams got crossed, if you know Ghostbusters, and basically the Hobby Wing Speedo went right up my face. He looked at me, I looked at him. We were both just like dumbfounded. I just looked at him. I said, "Give me your effing car." So
give me a wallet.
Yeah, so he was a good guy. He took care of that for me. He ended up getting me a speed control, which is very nice of him. I really appreciated his help nonetheless. But I didn't want to miss the opportunity, because in regular intermediate buggy, I was starting 4th in the B. So now I go out there with his car, different transmitter, Techno that I've never driven, set up, not how my car is running. Go running, doing pretty good. And the big jump in the back, I ended up casing it on one of the runs, because Alan had like a 2200 motor in his buggy. I run 19. So I figured with the shorter run up, the bigger horsepower, I'll probably clear it. Unfortunately, bad decision on my part. I end up casing the biggest jump in the back. Luckily, I get repositioned and I keep going. I drop to sixth. I pull back into fourth. I see third in front of me as I'm going through that 5-pack, Tom, you were just talking about before. Apparently, the battery strap in Alan's Techno had given up its last 9 lives on that last jump. And as I'm coming through the 5-pack, the battery comes out the side of the car. I'm trying to ignore it, thinking that's not what I'm seeing. As I round the turn and I start coming at myself, I see I'm dragging the battery, and all I hear is Scotty going, "Oh no, George in the rent-a-wreck. His battery's coming out the side." That was it.
Hey, no, there's no worse feeling because it feels like a self-inflicted wound. I mean, there's, S happens, right, as they say. But man, that's a tough one, especially when you're at that position for the bump spot.
Yep.
It was it felt good. And if I didn't screw myself, I probably would have had it, but that's racing. I should have just singled it. But a couple times during the race, because some guys were single on it and some guys were double on it. And as things got more risky, you kind of went for the single, but you couldn't trust the guy behind you to realize that's what was going to happen. So a couple times I literally got rear-ended trying to take it easy and not get broken. But anyway, in summary, Alan was there, helped me get my car back together. We just had a mishap in that. Let me borrow his car like a solid fellow racer would do. And things almost worked out, but that's Motorama.
So up until that point, were you faster with the Techno or slower with the Techno than your Kyosho? Inquiring minds want to know.
It's funny. A lot of the guys said it. I seem to be driving that car better than my own. I didn't feel that way in the car, just because everything felt so different, from the steering wheel to the Fly Sky, which he was running. You know what I mean? It just, everything felt different. The car had more horsepower than I was used to. And for me, I couldn't tell the difference. I kept looking at third, and that was the mistake. I was looking at third instead of focusing on driving.
But I swear sometimes when you're rushed like that and you're kind of out of sorts and your heart rate's through the roof, everything slows down. So sometimes it's not a bad thing. I mean, last year I went to Psycho Nitro Blast. We go for the first qualifier. I got my e-buggy on the pipe. I go to take off, and I can't find my car. I took off. I followed a car I thought was my car. It wasn't my car.
Oh, yeah.
And I forget to turn it on. I'm looking down there. I'm looking for my car door going, but I can't find my car. I run down the stand and still can't see my car. I'm looking for it. I'm hitting the throttle. I'm wiggling the wheels. I finally look out in the middle of the track as the tone's getting ready to go off, and I see my car. So I was on the far end of the stand, which is a pretty damn big stand. I run all the way back up the hill, get to my spot, hop a few pipes, and barely make the turn before the leader came around to force start me. And actually, it was one of my better qualifiers because I was so amped up. I was trying to calm down that I think it actually made everything else seem slower. I guess it's like they give kids with ADD Adderall, which is pretty much a speed, to try to slow them down. Like 2 negatives make a positive.
Tell the battery strap that, Tom.
Yeah, well, that happens, right?
Yeah, all good. Techno felt really good, though. That really long camber rod in the front. Some of the sections felt really good, but we'll take it to EB Mods from here.
That's right. I want to give a shout out to our 2025 sponsors. First up, EB Mods, big time regional racer Ed Bridges. He's been running EB Mods now for a few years. If you guys need engines, reach out to EB Mods. He's actually just developed his own engine, which I believe is based off the current Nova engine. Ed does all his own porting and dyno tuning and everything, so you're going to get some serious horsepower. If you need your engine resized or just generally, you can just pack your engine up, send it to him, and I'll go through the whole thing. Similar kind of service to Drake does out west. But yeah, check him out, EB Mods. I also want to bring up our other sponsor, which is, let me just find the right window that I'm supposed to be on. Nitro Caddy. I cannot find.
Hey, George, can you go on mute?
Oh, there we go. I'm going to take a quick second to play the Nitro Caddy video. And we're back.
There you go. Good job on the video, Tobe. You got to get. I know. I was seeing at Bridges. He needs someone to help make a video for his stuff, right?
Yeah, I got to get to that. It's I've been. Dennis didn't ask me to do that. I just wanted to do something, just to make it a little richer. So it's on my to-do list somewhere up in there to do red.
Well, this is pretty long, too.
Yeah.
Well, hey, real quick on Ed Bridges, I had a chance to go up the trains last weekend or the weekend before. Just a little test and tune up there, fooling around a little bit. Ed was up there with that new Invictus motor. That thing was a ripper. And I tell you what, I think he probably went through 3/4 of a gallon of fuel and just started that thing up, just ran and ran and ran. Ran like a top. So anybody consider it. I mean, it's definitely a good option out there.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I actually plan on grabbing one for him soon and getting out there with some nitro. In fact, Tom, that actually segues me to another thing I just wanted to point out real quick. You mentioned trains and lanes and going out there to practice. I will be out there tomorrow. I know the podcast isn't going to drop for a little bit, but Tuesdays I've been going out there and coaching and just teaching people. Tuesdays we meet like a little bit of a group, and just wanted to point that out there. If anybody wants to join us on Tuesday, shoot me a message, and would love to get out there and practice with some people, help them out.
Cool.
Movie.
Tell you what, Vin, I'm not kissing up here, but there's no better team manager in the business. You do an awesome job. I appreciate it. I see you everywhere. You always rely on you when we need something, so appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you. Well, real quick, why don't we just kind of touch base on some of the stuff that's coming up? I mean, spring's coming, right? It's getting nice out. It rained all day today. Weather's warming up. I know we got some openers coming up, Tobe. I think the first one coming up is the barn, right? Aren't they the first one, I think, on the 5th?
Okay, let me just pull up the calendar here. Yeah, it's April is going to be nuts.
Yeah, it's trains is the first one.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got trains and lanes on the 5th, which is always going to be a little dicey with the weather. But then we go into the weekend after. You got the Rhythm opener, Insanity Raceway have their 2-day vintage race that weekend, and then WRCRC have their opener as well on the same day. The next day, second day of the vintage race, and the barn has their season opener. And then TNT have a trophy race. Trains have a club race on the 19th, and then we get into LCRC. So yeah, it's going to be a busy month.
Fingers crossed. No rain.
I know. Who knows?
It's going to be a sick opening month.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm going to try and make the trains opener. So.
Well, come on down to Rhythm. I got to get you down here, Tobe. I got a place for you to stay. You can come down and stay here.
For sure.
We'll get you in.
Definitely going to make it this year at some point.
I know, Toby. I tell you, so just real quick, since George gave me the microphone. Rhythm, we're getting ready for the year. We got a test and tune coming up this week, and I'm not sure if this episode will drop between now and then. But on Sunday, we're doing a test and tune day. Opener is, as mentioned, on the 12th. Got the track laid out really well this year. We're doing some different stuff to really get this dirt packed down. Last year, it was DNC-esque. It was getting a little choppy at points. But we got one of the local racers gave us a 1,000-pound roller, picked up a few lawn tractors to run a ton of laps around this place. And it looks really good. I know last year the front straight was rock hard and the other spots were soft. I think it's going to be pretty much hard everywhere we go. But track looks amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
Looking forward to getting tomorrow. We made the driver's stand wider. We made pit road longer. So added a few extra features too. So we're really excited for the season and hope to see as many guys out there as possible.
I love that rhythm section, Tom.
Yeah, it should be fun. I'm excited. I did put in an off camber as much as Kevin's tortured me for years at LCRC with those things. I figure I'll make somebody else do it too. With that, I got some new products we can go over, but I also know we got Rusty and Maddy joining us today. I'm not sure if they're in the waiting area already, Tobe, or
yeah, they're there.
Why don't we go to our guests because they're gracious enough to join us. So I want to take a minute and introduce. Everybody heard as Mad Maddy Long, but Maddy's going to join us, team associated driver, as well as her stepdad Rusty. There they are. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you.
How's it going?
Some of the fastest guys in the region. I mean, Maddy, you got a hell of a mentor there to help you learn the way.
Yeah, I do.
How you guys doing tonight?
Good. This is our first podcast, so we're kind of new at it. We've watched a few, but never been on one before.
That's all right.
Just have
Nobody
some
watches anyway. You're all good. Sorry, Tom.
No, it's all good. It's just conversation, buddy. We're just a bunch of friends. But I tell you what, Maddy, with your trajectory, what I see you continue to get faster and faster, you'll be in a lot more podcasts pretty darn soon.
For sure. Yep.
Rusty's like us, though. He's got that 40-plus life. He's starting to – we're degrading. But you got a lot of potential.
Definitely. It's a struggle.
Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us. So I guess an opening question for you guys is, tell us a little bit how you got in RC. Rusty, I assume you're the one to introduce Maddy to it, but I'd love to hear a little background, how you guys got into the hobby.
Well, I got into it in the early 90s. I was in my early 20s, and I went to a local track to check it out, and I kind of fell in love with it right away. Back when the RC10 was the car to have, and they were back then. Saved up some money and actually bought one and raced it for a year and really progressed and got pretty good at a local track. But I joined the military soon after that, and so racing was stopped for probably about 10 years. And as I had got some time in the military, after about 10 years in, had a little bit more money. I got back into it, but with the military life, you definitely can't do it seriously. It's hard because you have so much other commitments and stuff. But I played with it a little bit on and off throughout my military career. But then I retired and met Stacy, and we got married, and our family combined. And Maddy was probably about 6, and then we have when we got married. But when she was about 9, her older brother Anthony got a Traxxas from his biological dad for Christmas, and I was out of RC at the time. This was right before COVID, about 2020, and he got the Traxxas Slash. And they were, out in the driveway playing with it. And I was telling him, he was doing donuts and, doing all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I used to race these things. And anybody can do donuts, but let's put up some cones and see how you can really control the car. And I put up some cones, and they were doing figure eights, and all 4 of our kids were out there playing with it. And it kind of evolved, the kids were competitive and they wanted to, see who could do it the best. And literally we started playing with it, and we did that for a few days, and they were having fun. And we have a little bit of land here, and I have about 7 years before I had a track in the backyard, but it was all overgrown. So I went back and mowed it down and put up some pipe, and I'm like, just something simple, not even any jumps. I mean, it was pretty much just an on-road track in a grass field. And they got to doing it, and they enjoyed it. All 4 of the kids were doing it and enjoying it. And yep, right there. Awesome. That was our driver's stand. That was our driver's stand. And that's awesome. Anthony right there, and that's my other daughter in the middle, Mihelich, and then there's Maddy. And it just kind of evolved. We played with the Traxxas, and the track got bigger, and the jumps got bigger, and then we started going to our first race, and all the kids were into it for a while, for probably around 6 months, and then Anthony kind of lost interest, and then Haley lost interest, and then after about a year or two, Mihelich lost interest, and Maddy just she never lost interest. It was her thing, and I've always loved RC, but I just needed some motivation to get back into it, and that was it. And here we are. she's been doing it now since about 5 years. Yeah.
So, Maddie, who was the fastest sibling? Was it you? Is that why you pushed them all out because you were beating them all the time?
Miley was getting pretty good when she quit, but I think I was the faster one.
Are you the youngest?
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, the kid sister beating everybody. That's good.
Yeah, when when you've done RC before and you're watching kids, if you know what to look for, you can tell who has the natural ability of controlling the car, And Maddy was definitely had the best connection to the car right from the beginning. That was apparent, and it kind of motivated her to, in my opinion, to keep getting better and she enjoys it, and that's the biggest thing. There's a lot of fast kids out there that have a lot of potential, but it's the ones that can harness the focus into that area and have the drive, because we all know this stuff isn't easy. I mean, there's just so much to it, and it's hard. It really is. If you want to be competitive, I mean, you can go out and have fun and that, but if you really want to take it to the next level, it's a lot of work and a lot of wrenching, and we're kind of right now going through the ups and downs, the roller coaster ride, and that's a challenge in itself. Also, you go to a race, you do really well, and you're like, man, we're getting fast, and then you go to a next race, and people that you beat the race before, are beating you, and you're like scratching your head trying to figure out what in the world. There's just so many variables. The track,
the RC gods will keep us all humble.
Huh?
The RC gods keep us humble.
They do. It's just mucho respect for those guys that can go out there, every race and do well no matter what the conditions or the track. It's that's so hard.
Yeah, I was just looking at your results. Your last 2 races looks like you're doing pretty good. You guys are out at the Nitro Spring Fling, right? Adrenaline, I guess, last weekend.
Yeah.
So you got 2nd in expert buggy and 4th in open buggy, e-buggy. So that's pretty good results.
That's, to us, that's not really good results. We kind of have high standards. I mean, it was okay, but we could have definitely did better.
I have a question for Maddy. Hi, number one. Thanks for coming on our podcast. We really appreciate it. The whole time I'm here, I'm like dying laughing because I have 2 daughters, right? So I'm watching your dad chit chat about your history, right? I see your eyes rolling. I see your head turning like, all right, when's he going to stop talking? Even though he's telling us everything, how you got to where you are. But how do you handle, like your dad just said, kick butt at one race and then go to another one, deal with those competitors that you just beat? How do you handle it as a young lady?
I mean, yeah, it's frustrating, but you just have to look how to get better and how you can improve for the next race and get better on consistency and have more corner speed.
She said,
good. I mean, it's right. You got
corner speed. That's great.
Yeah, that's where races are won in the corners. They're not won in the straightaways.
Yep.
So how were you happy with your Palmetto 4-wheel drive win? Or do you expect to do better there too? You beat a lot of good guys in that race. So.
I was pretty happy that I beat Chad.
Yeah, Chad's fast.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, that was a race right there where Maddy exceeded my expectations, big time. We're not 10 scale people, don't race it much. And we went there because it was wintertime, cold, no one else was racing. And we did it for track time and practice, basically. And I was just hoping she'd make the main and, just, get some experience. But she exceeded my expectations, and I think she exceeded her expectations. That was a good race. Very good.
Awesome.
Great job. Great job.
Awesome.
And they let us run e-buggy in there too, and that was fun.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah.
So, Maddy, how many years have you been doing this now, and who are some of the sponsors you have?
I've been doing it for around 5 years, and I'm sponsored by Associated, J Concepts, Nitro Pro, Ultimate Racing, JTP, Joker Designs, Boom Graphics, HRC, Ruthless Tire Prep.
Well, you're gonna need bigger bodies on your car for all those sponsors. Got a lot of decals to put on there.
I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Did you say J Concept?
Yeah.
Nice.
Fantastic.
So, Maddy, you were telling me about what was it? 6 habits that for racing. We're talking about
6 fundamentals.
Yes, the 6 fundamentals. Can you tell us about that?
I'm writing them down because I know how fast you are. I'm going to take notes.
You should. You should. I mean, she's
Put it in the chat later.
Have fun, stay in the groove, tight lines, corner speed, minimize breaks. Oh boy, there's one more. Consistency.
Awesome. Very good.
Those are all. People could write books about that, and you just said it very simply stated. 6 things.
Which one's most important?
The groove.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Staying in the groove.
Yeah.
I live in the groove.
I try to teach her if, it all starts with being able to keep that car in the groove. If you're not in the groove, nothing else is going to fall into place.
That's where 40-plus guys go to. Out of the groove.
Yeah.
That's where I live.
Not all of us. Some people here are world national champions. Some are, some aren't.
We were at a race. I believe it was Pro-Am summer or two ago. That's the track in North Carolina. Are y'all familiar with it? It's the indoor arena track that Beach RC has his races at. They had a Lance from Elite had a practice schedule where they broke it up from intermediate, pro, and sportsman, and then you had 2 hours of each. And I kind of like that because you could focus on your practice and it wasn't that crowded. You didn't have to wait in a long line and all that. But what I was trying to point here is they let 40-plus dudes run with the pros in the practice, and I was like, the groove was so clean. And I was like, good Lord, I was telling Maddy, I was like, there's so much traction out there. And when she went out there in intermediate class, she's like, there is not that much traction. What are you talking about? And we kind of figured it out that all the pros stay in the groove, so the groove stays clean. And the traction comes up because there's no dust on it, where you get the drivers that can't stay in the groove as much, intermediate and sportsmen, they always are out and in, and it's throwing stuff into the groove, and the groove is not as clean, so there's not as much traction. And I never really realized that, but that was definitely a learning point at that race.
Nice. Good point. Absolutely.
I race a lot with George, and he's putting dust all over the track.
Tom, that's unfair.
Can't see him, so he can't really respond either.
Matt, another question for you. I mean, you obviously had a lot of traveling going on. Do you have a favorite track you go to?
That's a great question. I like the race time event, Wicked and AMS. I mean, the other little tracks are okay, but they're not my favorite.
You like the big events with a lot of entries, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of competition.
Wicked, the weather is awesome. It's a great event. I mean, I think that's Aiden's favorite event as well. And he was even saying same thing. He loves AMS as well. So it's a good time.
I got a question for Maddy.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do an episode on this over the next couple of months, which is what makes a difference between drivers that basically have nerves of steel versus nerves of banana peels. So when you go up on the driver's stand, and whether it's, I guess, a heat or an actual race that you're doing, or whatever level it is, how do you control your nerves? Do you suffer for? It's like a two-part question. How do you control your nerves, and do you suffer from any nerves like shaky legs, shaky hands, lack of concentration? How do you deal with overcoming some of the things that you might see some of the other people go through?
Well, I do this a lot, so I guess I don't get nervous much, but like maybe at the start of the race when you're waiting for the tone to go off, you're just sitting there and waiting and waiting and waiting. But I think other than that, I don't really get nervous, but you just have to have confidence, because if you don't think you can do it, you're not going to be able to do it. So you have to tell yourself that you can do it, and I practice a lot more than these other people, and you're capable of beating them. So I think that's one way to calm down your nerves, because if you can beat them, then you won't be nervous.
I love it. Great answer. Great answer. We might have you on as a therapist for the other guys with shaky hands in the future.
I know I could use it.
Right.
The other question's a little bit more fun. How do your peers, like other girls you're friends with, kids at school, they know that you're a professional racer?
No.
She lives two lives. She lives two lives.
You mean you don't wear your J Concepts hoodie to school?
I wore that today actually because I didn't really have any clean clothes. But I mean, I tell my close friends, but they still don't completely understand it. It's so complicated to tell them, because if you tell someone you race RC cars, their mind, well, my mind would go straight to a Traxxas. And to me, that's bashing and whatnot. And I think that's what other people think. I don't think they understand how it works, and they just don't understand it. So they think it's stupid and they think it's easy. So I just don't like to tell them, because they're like, "Oh yeah, you race those RC cars, don't you?"
Yeah, don't listen to what people say.
They don't get it. They don't get
it.
Yeah. Same thing with the boys.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, trust me, when I go out for a dinner party and as an adult somebody says, "Hey, what do you do for fun?" Trust me, it's a very short conversation. So you just got to stay in your circle, Maddy.
Yeah. And then when they ask how much it costs, their eyes just go like you're crazy.
For sure.
And then if you say you're going away for a race weekend, then they look at you even crazier.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's a special breed.
Yes, sir.
It's like in your blood. You can't really explain it. You either love it or you hate it. It's weird.
We're like tribe members.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sport passion for sure.
But Maddy practices quite a bit, and I tell her, to use that to her benefit. When she goes on the driver's stand, she mentioned it. I'm like, there's nobody that you're racing against that practices more than you. There's not. I mean, I would bet money on it, and use that as a confidence thing. As you go up there, you put the work in, and you got this. Let's do it.
Yeah. Maddy, tell us how you prepare for an event. We're getting ready to go to Wicked Weekend, or actually you're getting ready for PMB, right? So,
yeah.
So what are you doing to get ready for PMB?
Well, not much, but Rusty has recently started this new thing where I have to work on my car an hour a day, and because he says I don't understand how to work on them, and that's going to be my downfall. So he's making me get my cars ready for PMB, and I have to spend an hour on them a night.
Right
That's
on.
cool.
Well, we're at that point where we go to races, and I do all the wrenching, and I basically hand her the remote, and I don't mind doing that. But I see some of these other young kids, Maddie's age, obviously not girls, but boys. We have several in our area that are super fast, and they work on their own cars, and they're able to provide feedback of what the car's doing, what they need, and I see that, and I'm constantly trying to better our race program, and I think we're active in that area, and if I think if Maddy understands the car more and what everything does, that it's going to help her become a better driver. So, trying to implement this new thing, and we'll see how it goes. She has built kits before with my help, but she's done the work. But you know how everything works. Diff fluids, shocks, camber, all the setup stuff. I don't expect her to be an expert at it, but a little bit of knowledge is definitely not going to hurt her at all.
If you don't start, you'll never finish. So you got to start. You got to start set up nice and easy. Start with ride height and camber, and then start working on stuff is a great idea. Like knowing your diffs and all that, and even down to even checking the size of those gears and making sure they all match up. But that's like at a different level. But when you start now, have you guys ever watched that movie Days of Thunder?
Yes.
Maddy, have you ever seen it?
Yes.
I think we watched it, but I don't remember it too much.
All right, so there's a part in that movie where Cole Trickle, the driver, is talking to Harry Hogg, and like he's frustrated because like here he thought he had all this skill in this other type of car, and he came over and he couldn't drive a stock car, and he talks about we're just going to have to set up a language. I don't know the exact quote from it, but that's basically what Rusty's trying to imply here is that you guys need a language to talk about what the car is doing and why it's doing that. So I think that's commendable that you're getting into it and you're doing it, especially for a kid your age to get into it, boy or girl. Because I'll tell you, like you asked Dylan. Like Dylan, why do you love motocross so much? And why is like RC on the back burner right now? He's like, man, it's so much work, Dad. He's like, by the time you do like your diffs, your shocks, everything, and then you got to change stuff in between. These kids have everything right at their fingertips with a phone, and it's commendable that she's doing so well and she's taking it to the level she is.
Maddy, something else just to kind of share with you. So first off, Rusty, thank you for your service. I don't want to forget to get that out. So I appreciate your service in the military.
Yes, sir.
I can certainly see that level of discipline you have and what you're trying to do with structure for Maddy. And Maddy, just take it for what it's worth. We've had 26 guests on before you. We love having you here. But one of the questions I always try to ask our guests, because I'm always trying to improve, is what's the one thing you think happened that really made you take the next big step? We've had some people that have gone from middle of the pack, upper middle of the pack, to all of a sudden start winning a lot of races. And we ask them, I always try to ask, what was that big step? What happened that did that? And they said, I really got comfortable with setup and tune of my car. And they said once they learned that was kind of that gave them the biggest leap forward and improvement in the results. So I think Rusty's got you on a good path and just trying to reinforce what he's talking to you about. Rusty, how's it for you? Because look, you're quite an accomplished racer. I touched on it briefly, right? But you won Roar ENATS this year for the 40 plus class. You're a 40 plus national champion. But obviously your program, I don't want to say suffers, right? But your program's impacted a little bit because you're helping Maddy, keep her program on point.
Right.
But how do you feel that's impacted your racing at all? Do you see I just be curious on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely impacted my program, but I'm 55 years old, and just in the last 5 years when we got back into it, I'm digressing. My eyes, is just are not as good. So I'm out to have fun now and get around the track as fast as I can for an old guy. I'm not really going to get any better. I know that. I'm just trying to hold on to what I have and have fun. But I put all my energy into Maddy because I'm kind of living vicariously through her. I mean, when she wins, and I see her progress. It's like it's better than when I win. I mean, I won 40 plus this weekend in both classes, and I'm like, okay, it was no big deal to me, but I would have rather her win. Uh, she's racing the fast people. I mean, I'm racing the older guys, which I'm not taking anything away from them, but we just don't have the speed that the younger people have. But to answer your question, I enjoy it more when she does well than when I do well. And a lot of the races, I'm like the bigger races, I'm not even racing anymore, because I could focus more on her, and I don't have to work on my cars, and I don't have that pressure. I can, help her. But Stacy's made a really interesting observation, and Stacy's my wife, Maddie's mom. If y'all don't know, she has observed that when I don't race, Maddie doesn't do as well at the track. And I don't understand it, but I've kind of started watching that since she's made that observation. And when I do race, she generally does better. And I don't know why, but it's an interesting observation. So I might, scale it down and just run one class, e-buggy or something at the races. I don't know if she's watching my lines or if she's very competitive with me. I mean, super competitive. So if I go out and turn a 27-second lap, she's going to turn a 26-second lap. I mean, it's the weirdest thing ever. I mean, she's at our track. She could be out there running, and she'll be running 27s and 27s and 20s, and I'll go out there and throw in a battery pack, and I'll turn a 26.9. Okay. All of a sudden, she'll be running 25s. It's the weirdest thing. I don't understand it. And Jared Tebow told us in his little write-up that this is 90% mental. 90% mental. And that there's a lot to that.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for Maddy.
I'm not racing her, but just when I'm racing a class 40 plus, she does better in her classes, generally.
Now, do you have a reason you think that is? What's your take on it? You just want to beat the old man.
I think it's because all the focus is not on me, and it's about him also. So if he's focusing on himself and not just totally me.
That's fair to say you feel a little bit less pressure.
Less pressure.
Yeah, Maddy, how do you feel when Rusty wins?
I mean, yay!
I don't know. Yay, Dad!
I don't if it's a big race, of course, good job. But if it's a small race, it's you just won.
Yeah, I told her that Maddy and I have a really interesting relationship. It's not interesting. Maybe interesting to some people outside looking in, but Stacy says it's the most unique relationship that she's ever seen. We're competitive with each other, and it's outside people looking in might think we're a little strange, but it works for us. So if it works, it works, But she, yesterday we ran the mains at Adrenaline, and it was a 30-minute 40 plus A main, and I had Maddy pit for me the first time. Usually she's too scared to, and she always gets somebody else to help her. And I'm like, Maddy, you're 14 years old, girl. You can do this. This isn't that hard. I'm like, I don't care if you make a mistake. I want you to pit for me. No one else. You got this. And she did outstanding. I mean, 3 pit stops, 7.5 minutes each, came in, filled up, gone. And I told her, I'm like, Maddy, and this, I don't want to sound like negative, but this is kind of how our relationship goes. I'm like, Maddy, that was the best thing you did all day. You know, you didn't drive that great, but you pitted me outstandingly, and we were making progress. So, you know, y'all might think I'm being a little mean and all that, but that's our kind of our relationship, and I was proud of her, very proud of her.
That's good to hear.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's unique. You guys have a really unique relationship, and you know, it works for you guys. And as long as you guys are having fun and you know, progressing the way you are, yeah, I mean, that's a blessing. That's awesome.
Yeah. We tell each other the way it is. You know, we don't like sugarcoat it. We're not disrespectful to each other, but Maddy does not.
What was that?
Are y'all still there?
You're still with you?
Oh, Maddy does not like what irritates Maddy. I mean, she'll complain to me is when she did not do well on the driver's stand or on the race or whatever. And people tell her when she gets off, "Hey, good job, Maddy. Good job, Maddy." I mean, she's not mean to him or anything, but that irritates her so much because, you know, she knows she could have did better. And I told her, you know, that's part of it. People are trying to be nice to you. They like you. And to them, you did well. And sometimes if you don't feel you did well, you know, and you could have did better, you have to kind of hide it and, you know, say thank you and move on. But, you know, the competitiveness in her is you'll know when Maddy thinks she did well because she'll come off the driver's stand with a smile on her face. And if she's not coming off on the smile on her face, she don't want you to talk to her. And what she does, and this is our little cool down method. She goes to turn marshal and cools off, and then after she turn marshal, she comes back. She's usually good. So you know we use that turn marshal in time to decompress and let the emotions out, and that works for us. And we you know I don't want her coming out the driver's stand ever yelling and causing a scene and all that. It's not good for the sponsors, and it's not who we are. You know, we want to have sportsmanship, and if we didn't do that well, there's always going to be another race, always. So
I will heed that advice.
Yeah, it's a great way to be.
Yep.
Cool.
George, you have another question? I think you were trying to get in there before.
Yeah, so that was great advice, Rusty. I will definitely try to use that advice when I go turn marshaling, as opposed to breaking something in my tent discreetly. Maddy, so you know, Vinny was talking about setup before a little bit, like on your cars, you know, making sure you know stuff. Rusty also was obviously trying to get you into some wrenching on a nightly basis, right? Get you a little bit more familiar with your car. So there was once a famous racer. I have no idea what the heck his name was, but I believe he said, in order to finish first, did we lose him?
I think we
dropped off.
See our guests.
We'll give him a second to come back.
Well, for the rest of you that are watching, the old
You're
Chinese
listening, George.
proverb for racing was, in order to finish first you must finish, right? So lots of people know that saying.
Excuse me, we lost you for a second, so we didn't hear what you said.
Now you have to go back and rewatch the podcast. We get one viewer at least.
Yeah, well, it's a tight schedule here.
Yeah,
it was about the wrench and follow up. So basically, you know, what Rusty's trying to show you, and hopefully you already know that, is how all the components work, right? Because the language Vinny was talking about before is you coming off the track and not being like, just the car is not running right, or it doesn't feel right. It's your dad's looking for input. It's loose in the rear. It's loose in the front. You don't have traction. You feel like you have too much traction, so on and so forth. But in summary, all that wrenching, really what it comes down to is an old saying in racing, which is, in order to finish first you must finish. And the only way that happens is by making sure that your car is always in proper working order. You know, lots of people don't put the time in, like your dad was saying earlier, and all these guys on the panel will agree. In order to finish a race, you got to have your stuff up to par. Maybe not rip your car down every single, race, but if you're racing very frequently, it's probably like every other race where you're putting new bearings in and putting new fluids in, because that stuff does wear down. And when you realize it, it's already too late, where everybody else has got that edge. So, is there any part in the wrenching that you've already started to do that you kind of find interest in? Is it, camber, differentials, the squishy shocks, colored wing?
Well, we haven't started the nightly thing. That's supposed to start tomorrow, but I have been like checking the ride height in the what's it called?
Camber.
The camber.
Camber, excellent.
Camber. Yeah.
Well, it's a great start, because those things have a lot to do with how your car is going to handle it out there. And, once you get more familiar with it, maybe in the future you can host one of the setup sections when Vinny's on vacation.
Sweet.
So she's been doing her ride height lately. I've been having her check her ride height before the races, and she can do the ride height really good. Checking it with the gauge and all that. But when say the ride height in the rear is 25, and she needs to make it 27, so she gets confused on which way to turn the shock collars. So I'm like, Maddy, right up. Okay, remember this, right up. Like somebody, you're getting a ticket, you're getting written up. Okay, right up. You turn the thing to the right, it's going to raise the car. And I think she has it, because the last couple of times she's gotten it right. And obviously left down. So,
righty tighty, lefty loosey.
Huh?
Righty tighty, lefty loosey.
Yep.
And the more you do it, the more you get it, and it's just memory repetition. But doing the nightly, little wrench sessions, I think is going to help a lot.
Yeah, Maddy wants to be. She wants to be a pro one day. I'm not sure. I mean, we're going to support her as much as she can to get there. And I think it's super cool that that's her goal.
I think it is too, and I think with the amount of races that you guys have done, I think it's. There's no doubt, she is a pro. She just has to get what you're doing right now is perfect. That's the perfect next step. And that's going to allow her to complete her program. But yeah, her driving is exceptional. And you guys are really brought it to the next level, and you guys are doing it together. And I love to see it. So I'm really happy to be on your team, and really grateful to be a part of it.
Yeah. And thank you for your support. Associated has been really, really good to Maddy. I mean, it's impressive. So we're blessed to have a manufacturer that takes care of her. I mean, they take care of me too, but we all know that they're really taking care of her. I'm just
Yep. No, they've made it clear that she is a priority. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree, and rightfully so. It should be, because to be honest with you guys, Maddy's a great racer, and but what she's doing for the youth and young ladies everywhere, she's kind of there's not that many girls out there doing it. She's crushing it. She's beating all those boys that have been doing, and they're working on their cars, and they're putting in all this work and all that, and she's showing up and she's throwing it down, because she just has skill. She's been doing this for a long time, since she was a kid, and it's coming. It without a doubt. Get those wrench sessions going, because you're gonna need it, girl. That's the last step.
I got a last question, Maddy. On the track, what would you say is your most favorite? Like, do you like jumps? Do you like berms? Do you like chicanes, which is like a real quick S section? Do you like the bank turns? Like, what do you like hitting as a racer? What puts a smile when you're actually racing?
Nice jumps are pretty nice. Like, I like them, but like if they're like really like messed up and like don't have like good faces or anything, they're not my biggest fan. But I like as sections, like you have to have your car, like you got to carry good car speed through them, and like it feels nice when you hit them right.
Yeah, tell him who your favorite track builder is.
Oh, and I really like Brian Burnett's layouts. They're like always flow really nice, and
The jumps in the corner.
the jumps in the corners, yeah.
What tracks does Brian build at?
He has built like the Fall Brawl, Pro-Am, Full Soldier Shootout, Peach State.
He also does the Rocks tracks, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah.
He does a lot of the arena tracks. He doesn't do race time events because that's Bobby Moore, but
Probably more, yeah.
she really likes Brian Burnett's layouts. And they're the ones that he has a lot of like doubles in corners where you got to kind of whip your car, to get it.
I remember that Fall Brawl 4 years ago. That was every corner was that way, but it was
that was on the old track, right? The outside.
No, and the first time indoor.
Okay.
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Okay.
I think it's kind of cool. It's a separator, but you got to line yourself up, and unfortunately, the further away it gets from me, the worse my eyesight's getting. So
yeah, that track is I mean, it's so rough that it gets hard to clear those jumps because the faces get all tore up. That's a challenge in itself.
Well, we're getting close on time here, guys, but I want to give Toby a chance and Vin and George, in case you guys have one more question you guys want to ask. Toby?
Yeah, I made a bunch of notes here. But try to pick something that I want to ask.
While he's thinking of a question, I'm going to ask you guys both one real quick. Yeah. What's your favorite or most memorable moment in RC? And I'll ask Rusty and Maddy, you guys individually. Maybe it's the same one. Did I just steal your question, Toby?
Yeah, you stole my question. Best win, biggest win. Why? Go ahead.
You can go first.
Mine again. My biggest achievement was Maddy winning the Beast of the East in the end of January this year. She won the e-buggy and the nitro buggy against some really, really regional top dudes. And I again, that was a race she exceeded my expectations, and I kind of left there almost with a natural high. It was like it was great. It was. I mean, like I said, I lived through her. I mean, because I thought she'd be top 5, but I did not think she'd be able to pull both of those wins off. It was on a tight indoor track. We were running slick tires, and the girl did it.
Did she get ice cream?
I'd have bought her a steak dinner.
How about you, Maddy? You have a favorite most memorable moment in RC?
Well, I didn't win it, but I got second in Nitro Buggy at Wicked Weekend, and I feel like I wasn't expecting to get on the podium there, so I think that was a pretty exciting moment.
Awesome.
Do you want to know my worst?
If you want to share it, we'll listen. I don't want to put you out there. I mean, but I'd love to hear it.
We were at AMS this past year.
I just saw an eye roll, by the way.
Huh?
She's rolling her eyes pretty good.
We were at AMS this past year, and Maddy was winning Nitro Buggy. 32 minutes in, 45-minute race, and she lost a front shock nut.
Oh.
I've never had that happen. The top nut that's
the shock on.
Yeah, it has it's one of those washer nuts, or it's lock nut, and it got out, and she lost it, and that's racing, but I mean you're so close to a big win, and that happens. It was just horrible. That was a long ride home.
Yeah,
wasn't meant to be.
So do you have another question? Because I feel that I jumped in front of you. I was just
So you've been racing since 2020, right? It's roughly in that ballpark. What's kind of your focus for 2025? Do you have any kind of like specific goals in terms of, how you're driving or events or, that kind of thing?
That's a great question. I mean, definitely goal is to win like a race on event, like a big race. I mean, I think everybody wants to do that. But just to try to improve and get better and try to like go to the next step.
Is there anything specific about, like, do you know when you're driving, you have a habit you need to break or you need to improve on certain things when you're driving? Because I'm old, I drive, but I'm really trying to focus on my braking right now and not just be so 40 plusy where I'm just like braking too hard, turning too late, that kind of thing.
I have a really bad habit of crashing twice. If I make one mistake or like crash, it messes up my whole rhythm, and then I crash again on the same lap, which is not good, especially at my level. So I'm really trying to not try to crash as much, especially 2 times in a row.
Start over.
Yeah, like start over, like when I
reset.
crash.
Yeah. Cool.
The hard reset.
Yeah.
Do you have,
reset.
Do you have a favorite tire or anything? Like, I know, you run for J Concept, so do I. But is there like a go-to tire or something like that? Or maybe one that you practice with a lot that you feel more comfortable on?
Well, we usually practice on wore out tires. We run almost slicks just because if you can control a loose car, you can pretty much control a car that has traction. But I mean,
Tip right there, by the way.
Huh?
I said that was a pro tip right there.
Yeah, I mean, people. If you see somebody going out practicing with new tires, I don't know if they're that serious. Because I guess if you're a pro, maybe, but like people coming up, they should have in practice. You should have the worst tires on that you got because that's just going to make you a better driver, being able to control it.
That's a good tip.
Our go-to tires is usually a reflex. I mean, that's kind of. Everybody knows that it works everywhere. May not be the best, but it will get you around the track halfway fast.
Yep.
As long as you get the right compound. But the adrenaline, we were running relapses most of the time, most of the day. But Ben Decker, he won e-buggy, and he was running green or blue reflexes. So maybe we should have been on reflexes there. I don't know, but we were on relapses. But then again, Lee Setzer was on blue relapses, and he was smoking fast. So both of them tires must have been working.
Yeah.
Cool.
It was kind of dusty. It was, I thought the relapses, it was a little bit too dusty for them. But again, it's hard to copy a pro's tire choice because they're able to hang on to it a lot better than somebody of lesser skill. So, we got to get out of the habit of trying to run what the top guys are running and run what works for us. And that's another mental thing because I'm always like, what is the fast guys running? We need to run that. Maybe not.
Yeah, well, everybody's different, right? And that's what's you can copy a pro setup, doesn't mean you're able to drive it.
Exactly.
Right. Same thing goes to tires and everything else. So.
That's right. You got to set it up for you. Wise words. Cool.
Yep. Cool. George, you have any other questions? Are you good?
Sir, I'm good. Maddy and Rusty, I apologize. I'm hurt my back pretty bad last week and can't really sit upright for too long. So I'm reclined and off screen. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining the podcast that me and the boys created over the last 26 episodes. It's a pleasure to have a fine young lady on the podcast who's sticking it to all the gentlemen that are out there and not even just the young guys. She's apparently kicking a whole bunch of guys' butts. So it was a pleasure to have you on, and we look forward to watching your racing career as it progresses, and we'd love to have you back in the future.
For sure.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having us. First, I hope you feel better. I've had back trouble too, and I know it's horrible. But thank you for having us on, and hopefully we'll get up there into y'all's area and maybe a race or two. We'd like to get up there. I've heard y'all have some good tracks. It's just a little bit of a drive for us.
Yeah, same. I hear you guys have some really good tracks down there too, including your track Leaned Out, which I've been itching to get to.
Road trip, Vin. I'm in. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go, buddy. All right, there it is. And you know what? Maddie and I, our birthdays are very close to each other, and she always has a birthday race. So
that would be a good one to come to.
Yeah. So that's that's a goal of mine. But listen, you guys don't have to go anywhere. We're gonna switch it up and just go to a different segment. You guys can stay in and definitely hang out and contribute if you'd like to. That would be great to have you guys in there for a little bit longer.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, and y'all have a good evening. Okay.
Well, just a few quick things, Rusty. Good dude, really good to speak with you. So I appreciate you joining. As George said, Maddie, little advice I always heard kind of growing up was, where you want to get to something, you have to get lucky, and the definition of luck is where preparation meets opportunity, and you're doing all the preparation, and you're going to have these opportunities. You want to go pro, you've got the tutelage with Rusty there to help you. You got the composure already yourself. You got a great mindset. You can make it happen. You're easy to cheer for. So if I see you coming down the stand, whether you're unhappy or not, I'm going to give you a high five. So I can tell you right now, you did awesome on the podcast. You're coming off the stand in first place. So I hope you have a smile on your face as we get ready to end this section. You did awesome. So keep that smile on your face. All right.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
All right. So,
well, we want to cover a few new products. Vin, we also want to have you cover your setup section. Do you want to cover setup first?
I think we should do products. We'll go over a couple products real quick, right?
All right.
And get that going, and then we'll segue into that and into the setup.
Cool. I'm going to try to share my screen here and hopefully not mess this up too much. So a few different new products that are out there right now. One of the first ones I wanted to kind of talk about quickly was a local Northeast racer. You guys all know Matt Navoso. He did move down south. He's going to become a trader on us. But if you guys saw a post out there for Position 1 RC, Matt has been working on probably the last 2+ years. He's been developing his own buggy. So if you guys aren't familiar, Position 1 RC, they make a lot of carbon fiber accessories, shock towers, arm inserts, a bunch of different parts. But Matt, longtime racer, has started building his own buggy. So it's got some really cool, innovative features on there. I'm not going to dive too deep. This is really just a prototype. It's not out yet. But I thought it was really cool for us, all being Northeast RC racers, to have, essentially one of our own out there designing a buggy right now and coming up with some really cool ideas. Adjustable kingpin inclination right on the kingpins themselves. Not have to change a lot of stuff. Hub heights, different caster angles, all with the same parts. He's doing some really cool stuff. So I thought that was worthwhile to pull out. I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to see that at all yet.
Yeah, I saw the post. I'm interested in seeing how far along he's gotten. Do we call him JQ now?
I don't want to insult the guy like that. But no, definitely making some really cool stuff and some cool parts here. So it's good to see.
Is it in prototype form, or is this a physical build that he's already come out with the parts on? It's
a physical car. He's done. He's built. Not everything's fully done. He's if you read his blog post on it, he what's the word he's using? He's modeling some factory parts from other cars right now on there. He hasn't built the full molds for everything, but the parts we're all tuning on are all parts he's built and designed, and he's been doing a bunch of CAD design and everything else. It's pretty impressive. Oh, that's the word he used. He's sourcing some parts from other vehicles, but it's mostly his design. And again, I've seen him. I mean, I'm friends with Matt. I've watched him do it for a while. When I've seen that front knuckle have about 5 or 6 different iterations at one point. This is where he finally landed. We had a bunch of different designs he's been working on, so really cool stuff. Toby, you're on mute.
This is true.
Thought you were talking for a second.
No, I just probably wasn't. Just.
Maybe getting too late for you? It's only 9 o'clock. You're all right.
Hey, I'm not yawning yet.
All right, some other stuff that's out there right now. Associated's got some new stuff out. I'm not sure if our guest can jump in on this a little bit at all, but Associated has a new kingpin inclination conversion to have. The current one on the 4.1E is a 9-degree kingpin inclination. They now have a 16-degree that's out there. It's an entire kit. It includes a shock tower, different carriers at the end, and a different block up front. Vin, I'm not sure if you want to talk a little bit more about this. I know you've done some tests on this, and I'm not sure if Rusty or Maddy have, but cool to have
Rusty, have you done any testing on the 16 KPI? Have you guys done the conversion and done any testing with that yet? You're on mute, by the way, Rusty. There you go.
No, we have not tested it, but I mean, we have ran it on, the 3.2, and we really liked that car. No complaints on that car at all. So I'm thinking it will be good.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna talk. Go ahead.
That's the same. The 3.2 had the 16 kingpin inclination. So
absolutely.
It's just going back and forth. I have heard. I think you and I were talking to Lee about it. It's really good for bumpy track conditions, is what I'm being told, with the new car.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna go over KPI as part of my segment. And so we'll finish this segment first and get into it. But yeah,
sounds good.
Cool.
Go ahead.
Good,
Vin. You have something else you want to add?
Yeah, there was some more associated stuff.
Right? Yeah, I'm going to bring it up right now. I'm going to bring up the. So for our Truggy guys out there, there's a new gear set. I know, Vin, I'm going to come off this screen share in a second, because I know you have a sample of this out there. But for the Truggy, they re-released a ring and pinion set. This is a little bit more robust than the original ones. I'm not sure how much it's going to change the way they're handling the cars, but it's certainly made them much more durable than they were in the past. I think the current ones are a 4110. Vin, correct me if I'm wrong. The new ones are 40 and 9, so that the pinion gears 9 gears, the ring gears 40.
So it was 4610 was what it was before, and it's 49 now. And what I was trying to show you is that these teeth, if you can see it, probably not, but they are a lot bigger. They're a lot deeper.
Pretty long. I can see it.
Right. So this is actually, I just opened this. This is my first time checking out. I do have a Truggy kit. So this is for the Nitro Truggy specifically. And it can also be used on the e-truck. It comes with the new e-truck. By new, it's repackaged. There's different gearboxes. And then, the ring and pinion has been changed. So,
and we know that's a tough area. Truggy's got so much traction up front. So it was an area they think they can improve upon. I think it's a good idea.
Anyway, that's that.
Looks like a good upgrade, man. I know it's been a long time in the coming.
Yeah, bigger teeth, and it's been in development for a little bit. So
a lot of hardcore AE guys will be very happy.
Mm-hmm. Especially our Truggy guys.
Yep. One of my buddies who will remain nameless, who had moved away, he was a big fan of AE for a long time. And I think it was track that you guys were talking about before, where the angles of the jumps as they were getting farther back, Tom, where you said you lost it was difficult to see. What was it? The AMS.
Mm-hmm.
I think he went through. I think he bought every diff they had in the parts trailer.
Oh man!
At the time. So anyway, good to see improvements. Good shit. Good stuff. Sorry.
All right, some other stuff we want to kind of cover real quick. Bear with me here. Ogo is came out with a new tire. This thing looks pretty interesting. I'm not sure many of our locals are running the Ogo tires. No, one of our real local fast guys used to run them. Not sure he's still running them, but they got this new tire. I guess it's called a mirror. That's how I would pronounce it. But good looking tire. Looks sort of like I don't know how to even explain it, but it looks like it's got a lot of forward bite on it, but it's got some slits in it to kind of clear out the tread. That's a good looking tire that's available out there. Certainly something to consider. Let me take a look what else I have here to cover. Just speaking, since we're staying on the tire section, let's real quick. I know Jake Concept came out with a new tire. Looks like I only see it right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm only seeing this new tire, the Arena. I think that's only going to be available in a pre-mount.
I do have a pre-mount, and I haven't run it yet. So I can't tell you much about it. But, yeah, I've only seen it in a pre-mount. That's correct.
It reminds me like of the old, like a gridlock almost, a little different pattern, but it looks to be like almost a diamond-shaped tread. I think in looser conditions where you need a lot of forward bite, there's not a ton of run-up on certain jumps, that could be a really popular tire. Something I like that's out there. Some other stuff J Concepts has come out with I think are pretty cool. I'm a big fan. I always like different tools. They got the new shock shaft tool, which is out. I think, Vin, you might have one of these already.
There it is.
Right but what I like about it is it's a lot more just than the shock shaft tool. For me, the favorite part's right here in the center. When you have to pop those ball ends into a ball, or an insert into a ball end, there's a tool section right here to do that. It's got different shock sizes on there. So it's definitely a good tool to have in your toolbox because you can do multiple things with it. And Vin, you said you had it, so let me close down real quick and let you show it.
So, yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good. There's a spot you could put your bullets in, and you can even clamp down on your hexes, tighten them up, shock shafts in the front. And this thing looks great. Feels nice and solid.
I know as I carry way too much stuff to the track, anytime I can get a tool that's a multi-tool, that's a win for me.
And then they also, did you talk about the multi-wrench?
Well, yeah, why don't you go ahead and show it? Because, I mean, it's I don't necessarily have to show it on the screen. I think you can show it, right? It's a new globe plug slash.
Yeah, the Nitro guys will like this. If I can get the package open. So it looks like you got your 8 for your gold plug at the very end there. And then, you have some hexes on either end. And I'm not sure.
I'm going to share my screen because it's a little bit larger than what you have right there. For me watching, able to see it.
Not seeing it.
Coming up.
Not yet.
So you got your hexes on one side. Both sides, you have 2 different hexes.
Not seeing it.
So it looks like a 3 and a 5.
Yep.
So they're,
I see. There you go. I had to add it in.
That wasn't showing up?
Yeah, it was down the bottom.
Okay. That's why they don't let me do this stuff too often. But that's really all I had on new products that I wanted to cover.
Can I throw something in there?
Sure.
So I've been, shout out to Kurt Wenger, who has been on the podcast before. So I've been doing some testing with his new MIP shocks and the 5-hole and the 7-hole. So I haven't run the 7-hole yet. Okay, I did build a set. I have them on deck to practice actually tomorrow at Trains and Lanes. But they're supposed to be more for like a smoother track, the 7-hole. And the 5-hole, we've had a lot of success with the 5-hole, let's say at LCRC, a couple other tracks. But this one has the MIP bypass in it. So it's the 5-hole with the MIP bypass. And I was running this back-to-back against the VRP 20, which is another great piston. They work really well, especially at like the race time events and stuff like that. So I found that this was really forgiving. It really kept the car on its feet a little bit more than any other shock package I've used. I even went a little bit stiffer than Kurt's original suggestion. And I found it had plenty of pack and it still soaked up the bumps really, really well. So, I really like these a lot. Highly recommend them.
Can I add something?
Please.
Yes. When we talk, I don't know if y'all have already covered this, but a new product from J Concept that we used this past weekend at Adrenaline was their new razor wing that is 5 millimeters shorter than the normal one. Because on Saturday during qualifying, we had 30-mile-an-hour gust of wind, and the regular razor wing was just it was too much for in the air with that wind. So we went to the 5 millimeter lower one, and it drastically changed how the car jumped. So if you have the normal razor wing and you don't want to buy a new one, yes, you can cut with a Dremel. You can cut 5 millimeters off, but you have to do it before you drill the holes. And you can essentially have the new ring with the old wing if you don't want to buy a new ring.
And I love how there's like, you probably can't see it, but there's like little dimples where you can like set your, you can make your holes back here, even for this new low profile.
Yes.
So Razor LD wing.
Yeah. And we used it with good results this past weekend.
Yeah, I'm a little OCD. If those holes aren't lined up, it drives me nuts when I look at my car. It's nice they got
that's so cool that they're on there already, and you can easily just carve those holes in there.
So, Rusty, you were still putting holes in the wing, even with the low downforce wing. You were still putting the holes in it.
Yes, just smaller ones.
Okay.
Good to know. Thanks. That was a good ad there. Just happen to have one on deck.
There you go.
Tom, how come you didn't pull out your J Concepts new wing?
I can go out and get it in the garage. I got them out there. I just haven't put them on yet.
Vinny's like, every time you mention something, Vinny just pulls it out of the hat.
Yeah, well, Vinny's supporting 2 other racers over there, so he's got all the toys. Look at that wall behind him. I run an RC car track. You know how much extra free cash that leaves me to buy RC stuff.
But your muscles are getting bigger.
Yeah, okay. Only the jaw. Anywho, I think that's all I really have on the new product side. Unless anybody else has anything else they want to talk about. Toby, anything on your side?
Jacob, good.
Cool. Well, that's going to lead us into Vin's setup section. So, Vin, I know we just talked about those new higher KPI knuckles.
Yep.
They came out. I think that's what you're going to cover for us today. So,
yeah, absolutely.
The screen is yours.
In fact, I'm going to show you guys those in a second. But first, let me go over KPI. So, KPI stands for Kingpin Inclination. And what is it? It's the angle of the front hubs. And what does it affect? It affects the scrub radius, the contact patch, and the caster of the front end. So let me just show you guys real quick as we get into it. Okay, so this is my car where I did the 16 KPI conversion. And if you can see the front hub right here, I don't know if I can show it to you guys.
Toby, you might make it in full screen?
But you can.
Hang on. Are you sharing?
All right, even if not, it's no big deal. But you can kind of see how this is dented in right here. It's on an angle, right? So everything's on an angle, and we're going to talk about that in a second. What happens there? Where you go to the 8 KPI car, you can see the front knuckle here. It's a little bit flatter. All right, see how this is so basically this part up here. Where is it?
Lost Tom and he came back. There he is.
Okay. Yeah, I only went out in case I was screwing something up from presenting before. I didn't want to be that guy.
So this is wider up here, and it changes, it basically changes that whole front section and changes how it works. And I'm going to explain to you what it does. So when we get into more KPI, okay, and you're putting more, a higher angle. So when we go to the 16 KPI front end, basically the hubs will move more as you turn. So you're changing that hub angle more as it turns. So that what happens is when it turns and it gets to lock, the one tire is going to drop down, and that kind of on a real car, when the tires drop down a little bit, when it's turned, it kind of lifts the car up a little bit. So what in fact that does is makes it want to self-center and drop back down. So anytime you turn, it's picking up the front end, and that basically creates more stability because it's self-centering. So it's going to want to come back to neutral. So the other thing that more KPI will do is the outside tire is going to have less camber as you turn, and then the inside tire is going to lean in and it's going to drop. So it's doing a number of things, and that dropping effect is what does the self-centering, like I explained before. So what in fact does it do? So it basically positions where your steering is in the corner. All right. So less KPI is going to give you more initial steering going into the corner. It's going to kind of swing the car into the corner. And on some cars, on some tracks and low grip, it has a tendency to overswing the car. And on corner exit, it's not the same. So more KPI doesn't steer so hard initially into the corner. So it's a little hard getting into the corner, but the car hangs on to the corner more. As you go through the mid corner and onto the throttle, the car is smoother, and you're able to put more power down to the ground. So in fact, on depending on the surface, you could very well have a faster car with higher KPI. Basically, after doing a lot of testing, I've found that the 16 KPI works really well at my home track. I'm going to test it tomorrow at Trains and Lanes. It worked really well for me. And I wasn't racing, but I went down there and I saw these guys at Adrenaline, and that was the car, hands down, that worked really well for me. Now, my 8 KPI car, I'm still going to do a couple more changes. I need to do some things to them. I found that, I had steel pillow balls on the bottom, and the other car had aluminum up and down. So I still have some more research to do. So I'll get back at you guys next time and tell you which car I'm using where. But that basically breaks down KPI. Does anyone have any questions?
I got a question.
Uh-oh.
So when you change the KPI from the to the 16, do you do anything to the rear of the car, or are we just keeping the rear end of the car the same?
Okay, so right now what I'm doing is I'm keeping the rear end the same, and which is basically trying to lock in the rear and create as much grip as possible. I'm not necessarily loosening up the rear or trying to get it to rotate more. I'm trying to get the car to be predictable, smooth, and like smooth through the bumps, so the car doesn't really get upset. And that's kind of my goal. So I'm not really making the fastest car by doing that, but I'm making a very stable car for me for plus 40. Okay.
Right.
But the kids, like, for example, I'll run my rear arm back, and the kids might have the rear arm either centered or forward. And like that, I know makes a big difference. Even your hub height, so there's a lot of variables on the rear end, and that's a really good question. I thought you were going to ask me what you have to do to get that 16 KPI kit onto the car, because you got to do some dremeling.
Yeah, I heard about that, but I was just like, what concerns me with the 16 KPI is that, like you said, it's gonna take a little bit of steering out of the car going into the corner. So you could play with that rear end to still give you that steering into the corner, but get the benefits of that 16 KPI coming out of the corner.
Exactly.
So,
Good point. Yep. And one thing I was going to play with was even the shock angle and the front sway bar and all that to see, and the geometry of the front end to see which one, I can basically generate more corner speed with.
Yeah.
And one thing, like when you guys were talking the whole time, like all I kept thinking about was back in the day, my old motocross mantra, which is jump for show, corner for dough. Right. That's how it goes. You got to get corner speed. You're absolutely right.
That's it. That's
cool.
Good stuff.
We're gonna have to get off. So I just want to thank y'all one more time, and y'all have a good evening. Okay.
Thanks for coming, Stacy. Hi. We heard about you. Now we get to see you on camera.
Hello.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
See y'all later.
Thank you.
Make sure I have this right before you go, Rusty. Have fun. Stay in the groove. Tight lines. Corner speed. Minimize brakes. Be consistent.
You do those, and you will win races.
Well, I need it. I'll take all the help I can get.
Guarantee it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
See you later.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Good
coming.
night.
All right.
So, Toby, if Tom gets a promotion, which I heard before, does that mean I get a demotion?
No, you're CEO, dude. There's no way you can go down. You're at the top. You've just got to quit.
Yeah, I'm no longer the janitor. I've moved up through.
Yeah.
I'm now the floor technician.
Vice president.
Is a new product specialist.
Well, hey, so just as we're getting ready to wrap up the episode, I want to take a second and give a shout out one more time to Ed Bridges and EB Mods. Thank those guys for the support again in 2025. They're our longest term sponsor. You know, Ed's got a lot of good stuff out there. You guys, I'm sure, have seen Ed at the track. If you haven't, I've never seen a guy in a bad mood. Great guy to go talk to, pick his brain. I've used his services. I know we talked about, Drake's out there that does his stuff, but you can't beat the turnaround you get from Ed. And his knowledge and experience. He's got a dyno machine there. He'll break in your engines. He can fix them. He can put new bearings in if you didn't oil them real good at the end of the season and you have any problems when you come out this year.
It'll resize your engine trackside.
I'm sorry?
It'll resize your engine trackside.
Will he really?
You need a quick pinch, run over there. I needed one last time I was there. He just banged it out, came running back over. Here you go.
Yeah. Awesome guy. Also, shout out to Dennis Brew. I love Dennis's lives, by the way. I keep watching him on Facebook. Hits me all the time. Yeah, Toby's got the hat on. Which I'm going to hit Dennis up. I need a hat.
Yeah, you do.
And I see you've got a rounded brim. I'm not a flat brim guy. It just doesn't work for me, but it's a nice rounded
Yeah, he's
brim.
got a ton of them. So.
Yeah.
All different colors.
Actually, I need to buy a nitro cat is what I need to do because those things look awesome. The new ones he redesigned look really good. They're compact, they're consistent, and pretty much you're not going to walk up like I do sometimes forgetting something. There's a space, everything in its space, and a space for everything.
I want an E-Caddy.
Toby, insert light bulb.
Yeah, I've got my flashlight.
Your flashlight, that's it, sorry.
Hey, listen, part of the advantage of Nitro Caddy or E-Caddy is just stepping up your game, right? So ultimately, sometimes you may not need certain things.
There it is.
But there we go. Thanks, Toby.
You're welcome.
You may not need certain things, but at the end of the day, it's nice to have like an upgrade in your equipment. So that's what I think is awesome about Nitro Caddy. If I ran Nitro, there's no doubt I'd have one. Who wants to carry all that stuff all the way up to pit lane when you can have just a better way to do it? But I would like an E1 personally. Can have just a thing for another set of tires, spare battery, holds my transmitter. I don't have to carry stuff in two hands. I can just carry it in one. So maybe an E-Caddy with a USB port. You never know. But nonetheless, hopefully I can get a prototype. Dennis Brew.
Is Dennis running electric? Because he said he invented this because he had a way to hold a cigarette. Get him an e-buggy, all of a sudden get inspired.
An ashtray on the side of it?
Yeah, right. I'd like to see it into a fuller size version. I think it looks cooler. And that way you can carry some tools on it and some other stuff. But anyway, thank you very much, Dennis Brew, for being a sponsor. Like Toby's hat. I think Toby was trying to clue you in on that, Tom. He was like pointing at his hat. You were going for the brim. Toby's going, here's the name.
No, I mean, Dennis is a good guy. He actually helped sponsor the live stream at Motorama as well. So, he's out there helping the community.
Want to give a quick shout out to Off-Road Racer. George, I'm looking at your image here. My favorite shirt I have is from Off-Road RC Racer. It's an American flag, and all the stars are little glow plugs. And then cars are made up with red and white.
Thank you, sir.
Little buggies along the way. So I don't have my hat on today, but I do have a hat from you as well. And you guys want to? We're talking before, kind of joking a little bit about our secret hobby. We don't always talk about all the RC racing we're doing, but that's a great subtle way to kind of show what you're into. And it's one of those things. If you know, somebody sees that shirt and sees glow plugs and buggies, they're going to get it. And shout out to you and Off-Road RC Racer. A lot of cool merch on there, so make sure you guys check that out as well.
I appreciate that. The update is that site no longer operates.
Oh, geez, I should have asked you first.
Yeah, it's all good, though. But I appreciate it. There's some good images. I'm going to keep rotating them just on my screen, little avatar image here. If anybody likes any of those images, They are still available, but yeah, very patriotic. Try to come out with some stuff like that. Thanks for the shout.
Awesome stuff. Vin, as always, setup section was great. Johnny on the spot with all the new products. I'm definitely slacking. It make you order 2 of everything when you order, and I'll have to get one from you. But awesome stuff. So
I just like getting the tools and stuff like that. So when I got it, I was like, all right, I'm going to wait for the podcast before I open this and, just kind of show it. So,
I love when I get a J Concepts box, and it's almost like I have Prime-nesia. You order something from Prime, you forget what you ordered. I'll order stuff from JC, like, what did I order again? And then I get the box. It's like Christmas morning. It's awesome.
So before we lose Toby, I have one.
He hasn't even started yawning yet. We got a little bit of time.
Oh, no. You got to read the private chat. So one thing from Toby, especially because you've been a little quiet this episode. I'm the one who's supposed to have been more quiet. It's hard to happen. But why don't you tell everybody who's coming on next month, Toby?
On this podcast?
That would be applicable.
I don't know.
Really important guy who does race announcements.
Oh, fuck yeah. So I'm out there. Yeah, Scotty Ernst.
yeah.
I think around April 20th we're going to have him on. So yeah, maybe we'll go live on that one. That'll be cool.
There you
That
go.
would be cool.
Yeah.
We need Scotty to maybe make a little intro for us. It'd be nice to have his name in the intro somewhere.
That would.
His voice is very recognizable.
Yeah, he was pretty psyched to come on. We spoke to him at Motorama, I think, George and I, and he was pretty jazzed. So that would be cool.
Very cool.
Honestly,
Great guy.
I cannot wait to have Scotty Ernst on this podcast. Like, just in general, like going to Motorama for the race is one thing. Going to see Scotty's another. And if you know anything about the guy, and we'll get into it more next time, all he's got to do is meet you once. And the guy's got like a photographic memory for names. And I think it's amazing, and that's what makes him so welcoming. And we are so pumped here to have him on it. It'll be like a crown jewel, and really looking forward to that. And maybe we can send Scotty a write-up of our little podcast. I'd love to get him a recording, just doing an intro for us, which would be awesome. But
that would be sweet.
All right, wouldn't it? Anyway, super stuff, you guys. We apologize. This was supposed to be a live episode. I kind of hurt myself over the last couple of weeks, and I'm recovering. And it was kind of last minute. I dropped it on these guys. I was hoping I would be able to pull through. So we apologize to anybody who was going to check us out live. And like Toby said, we'll try to do it next month. That sounds really good.
Wrong button.
All right, you have many electric cars, so you're a hypocrite.
I have, what do I have? One? Well, other than that lot, but they don't get off the shelf.
You have your short course.
Got my short course.
And I believe you have an e-buggy, don't you?
Sold it.
Okay, well, you have a charger at your house, so technically you're in business.
Yeah, I guess.
Close it out, Toby.
All right. Well, I guess we're wrapping it up. This was episode 27 of Northeast RC Podcast. Thank my usual cohorts here. George is laid up in bed with injured himself. Vinny out there, Mr. Associate. There he is. Put your hat back on.
40 plus life.
And Tom doing most of the heavy lifting today. And yeah.
You got a hat too? All right, Dennis, we're going to have a conversation.
That's right.
You got to make a Nitro Caddy donation.
I'll make a donation to him. Absolutely. I'll pay him for the hat. I just want to pull him.
I went to his motorhome to get the hats, and P-Word bought one too. And P-Word was very specific on his colors. So I come back, and I think it's the one Toby's wearing. He's like, no, it's not the one I wanted. And I'm like, all right.
I'll set it to him for a price. All right. Well, wrapping it up. And we'll see you guys next month with Scotty Ernst.
Looking forward to it.
Take it easy, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot, guys.
See you guys. Have a good night.